All right, here we have the DC-80 7-inch field monitor. Let's take a peek and see what we've got in the box here. First we have some instructions, warranty card, and we have a little cloth bag. We have your power plug. We've got an HDMI to, I want to say that's micro HDMI. Now we have a regular HDMI to standard HDMI. We have an alternate plug, so if you're over in Europe, you have that covered. And we have another one as well. Obviously another power source for another country's electrical system. And right here, we have the DC-80 itself. Great looking little monitor. Oh, we've got more. Just keeps coming. Let's see what we've got in here. We have just a standard cold shoe mount. And we have a nice field monitor mount. Yep. That's going to swivel for you. Oh, wow. They actually included a magic arm as well. And not a cheap one. This is actually an all metal construction magic arm. Really nice. I was not expecting that. Huh. So down here you have your quarter 20 mount up there as well. Yeah, that's a surprise. I was not expecting them to include to include a magic arm, especially this price point. There is a lot of stuff that they included. I like that. Some of the other budget priced field monitors I've gotten lately have been incredibly limited about what they include, but the DC-80 has pretty much got anything you can think of. Wow, really great. Let's take a look at the build quality of DC-80. Well, for one thing, this is an all metal build. Having an all metal build is not something that you see in these more budget conscious field monitors. Most of them are made from plastic, but this is completely metal all the way around. Now, at the top here, we've got some navigation buttons that you can use if you wanted to go through the menus, but personally, I would just use the touch screen. You have an on and off button, and then you have several quick function buttons. Again, not something that I use though, because I just use the touchscreen. It's so easy to use. Now on that side there, we have a DC in port, HDMI in and out, and a USB port that you would use for loading up your own LUTs. At the base, we have headphone jack. You have an AV jack, quarter 20 mount, little speaker, and on the side, you also have another quarter 20 mount. I gotta say, incredibly impressed with the build quality of this monitor. All right, let's take a look at some of the functionality of the DC-80. So this is a touchscreen monitor, so you just double tap on the screen to bring up the menu. At the top here, we have the different settings for the actual screen here. Everything from contrast to brightness, saturation, tint, your backlight, and then also a color temperature as well. Honestly, I rarely go into those that much because of a really neat feature that this has. If you drag your finger along the left side of the screen, that's where you can turn up or turn down the brightness of your monitor. I usually leave mine at around 50 when I'm working here in the studio, and that seems to work just fine. So double tap again, and now we can get into the second menu. And this is all the different functionality that it has. You have focus peaking, and what's nice about this is that you can set different levels of your focus peaking on here. I think it goes all the way up to 10, and as you can see, peaking all over the place here. So depending on the intensity you want, of your peaking lines to show up for you to help with focus, you've got a really great range to work with. You can change the color of your peaking. And in fact, let's put that on. So we have red, green, blue, and back to red. All right, let's turn that peaking back off. We have false color. This is what I use more than anything else when I'm setting the exposure. Now, I'm not going to get into what false color does, but let's just say it's a sort of a color representation of the exposure of your frame. So again, double tap. Second menu, we'll turn false color off. You have exposure lines, and you can set where those come up from 70 IRE, 100 IRE. Monochrome is a pretty interesting one where you can just basically turn your entire screen monochrome. And that can really help when you use it in combination with your peaking. It's a lot easier to see your peaking lines when you're using a grayscale screen. So just a nice little feature there. Let's turn peaking back off. You can go to a not only monochrome, your standard gray, but you can do red, green, blue. You can change the different aspect ratios. There's 4:3, 14:9, 16:10, standard 16:9, 185:1, 235:1, full, auto. I believe that's what I had it set to originally. It was just auto. Yeah. Let's see. The next screen down, we can turn on things like some safe edges for you when you're doing your recording. And of course, you can set how big those are. That can be useful when you're filming. You can put on a center mark. Make ratio is where you see 4:3, and it will put lines for your framing of a particular ratio if you want to. So say you were recording in 16:9, but you think in the final edit, you might go to more of like a 235:1. Well, those lines will show you what that frame would look like. And the rest of those there just talk about the different colors that you could make those lines for your ratio screen. Here, we can turn on things like your volume settings for your camera. You can see I've got this plugged into my GH5S over there, and you can see my voice there picking up. We have your histogram. We have your vector scope. We have RGB parade. You have different LUTs. And that's another feature about this, is that it has a few built-in LUTs, such as V-Log and S-Log, DJI log, log for red cameras. You have a user one too. You can actually load in your own LUTs onto this monitor. And right down here where it says USB loading, that's where you go about the process to load your LUTs in. And the rest here are just different settings that you could have. It's your input source, language, things like that. And again, like I said in the beginning, you double tap to bring up the menu. Single tap would make that go away. And that's essentially all the software features of this monitor. So, of all the field monitors that are on the market, why did I choose the DC-80? Well, you're looking at it right here. I do a lot of real estate shoots, and I need super light gear so that I can move through several houses in a day. The heavier something weighs, the more tired my arms are going to get. I have back issues anyways, and that really starts to get on you after a time. And most field monitors that you use, you can either, power with some sort of a power brick, or you have to use one of the big Sony NPF batteries. So what about the DC-80? Well, let me show you. If you notice, there's no battery on this anywhere. That's because the DC-80 has a built-in battery. And because I'm not having to tote this thing around with a giant NPF battery on there, this thing is actually really light. Even with its metal build quality, not having that huge battery on the back makes this more lightweight for me. How sleek and small it is. In fact, I could even mount that up on my camera and still be able to balance my gimbal with no problem. It's an outstanding feature that I'm not sure of any other field monitor that has it. Here's one other thing I was saving for the video here. Let's see if I can get it. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's nice. So I just wanted to wrap this up here and talk again about why I chose the DC-80 Field Monitor. Well, one thing, of course, it's a 7-inch monitor, and my older eyes, I kind of need all the screen I can get when I'm doing things like pulling focus. But of course, the big selling feature for me was the built-in 3500 milliamp battery. No worrying about batteries for this. Now, of course, you do have to, plug it in to charge, but it does so on that DCN port. If you wanted to, you could also hook up a little adapter and have this plugged into another battery source, like one of those little NPF battery mounts, or even maybe into a V-mount battery. But for me, I needed something that was lighter. I needed less wires. I needed less bulk. DC-80 fit the bill perfectly. And of course, finally, the touchscreen. The features that this thing has built into it for the price point, incredibly, incredibly impressed. So at the end of the day, if you need just a simple 7-inch touchscreen field monitor, and you don't want to have to deal with the bulk of having batteries on here, I would definitely highly recommend DC-80 Field Monitor.